In the heart of Umuofia, a village nestled deep in the countryside, lived a man named Nnaemeka. He was the alpha male, a towering figure whose presence commanded respect and fear in equal measure. His prowess in wrestling was unmatched, his strength legendary. Stories of his feats echoed through the village, how he had single-handedly taken down a wild boar, how he had bested every opponent in the annual wrestling matches, and how his mere glare could send shivers down a man's spine. Nnaemeka's reputation was solidified not just by his physical abilities, but by his unwavering determination and ironclad will. He was a man who valued strength, bravery, and honor above all else. The villagers looked up to him, and the young men aspired to emulate his formidable skills. Among the many admirers of Nnaemeka was a beautiful young woman named Ada. She was the daughter of a respected elder and known for her grace and kindness. Despite Nnaemeka's fearsome exterior, Ada saw something more in him, a gentleness and a sense of duty that few others could perceive. Their love blossomed quietly, a serene counterpoint to the intensity of Nnaemeka's public life. In time, Ada gave birth to a son, whom they named Okechukwu. Nnaemeka saw in his son the potential for greatness, a chance to continue his legacy of strength and valor. From a tender age, Okechukwu was trained rigorously. Nnaemeka would wake him before dawn, teaching him the art of wrestling, the strategies of combat, and the importance of resilience. He pushed Okechukwu hard, believing that only through struggle could true strength be forged. Yet, Okechukwu was different from his father. While he possessed the physical strength and agility, his heart was softer, more attuned to the gentle ways of his mother. Ada would often find him wherever there was cooking going on. He yearned to become a chef, and although he respected his father's wishes, he did not share the same fervor for combat and dominance. As Okechukwu grew older, the tension between father and son became palpable. Nnaemeka, though proud of his son's abilities, was frustrated by his lack of aggression. He often reminded Okechukwu of the importance of strength and the need to be a fierce warrior to protect their family and village. One fateful day, a neighboring village challenged Umuofia to a wrestling match, seeking to settle a dispute over land. Nnaemeka saw this as an opportunity for Okechukwu to prove himself. He urged his son to compete, hoping that the challenge would ignite the warrior spirit within him. The day of the match arrived, and the entire village gathered around the wrestling ring. Nnaemeka stood tall, his eyes fixed on his son. Okechukwu stepped into the ring, facing a formidable opponent. The match was intense, the air thick with anticipation. Okechukwu fought bravely, displaying skill and strength, but it was evident that his heart was not in it. In a crucial moment, as Okechukwu grappled with his opponent, he looked to the crowd and saw his mother's worried face. He felt a sudden clarity, understanding that his true strength lay not in physical dominance, but in his compassion and integrity. With a final strategic move, he outmaneuvered his opponent, winning the match but without causing undue harm. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Nnaemeka's face remained stern. Later that night, as father and son sat by the fire, Okechukwu spoke. "Father, I respect your teachings and the path you've set for me, but my heart is not in wrestling. I wish to follow a different path and become a chef. Cooking brings me joy and fulfillment." Nnaemeka's face hardened, his eyes narrowing in disbelief and anger. "A chef?" he thundered. "You think you can abandon the legacy I've built? Our family is known for strength and valor, not for toiling in kitchens. You will never be great or celebrated in this village as a chef. I cannot have a son who brings shame to our name." Okechukwu's heart sank, but he stood his ground. "I must follow my own path, father. I believe I can achieve greatness in my own way." Nnaemeka's expression grew even more severe. "If you choose this path, you are no son of mine. "Leave this house, leave this village. You are no longer welcome here." With those harsh words echoing in his ears, Okechukwu gathered his few belongings and left the home he had known all his life. The journey to the city was long and arduous. He arrived with little more than hope and determination. Life in the city was tough. Okechukwu found himself struggling to make ends meet, taking odd jobs wherever he could find them. For weeks, he slept in shelters and barely had enough to eat. Yet, he never lost sight of his dream. One day, he stumbled upon a modest restaurant looking for help. With nothing to lose, Okechukwu took a job washing dishes. The work was grueling, but he did it with a quiet diligence. He watched the chefs at work, absorbing everything he could about the art of cooking. Months passed, and his hard work and keen observations paid off. One day, a chef called in sick, and Okechukwu seized the opportunity to showcase his culinary skills. He prepared a traditional dish from his village, infusing it with his own creative touches. The customers were delighted, and the restaurant owner took notice. Recognizing Okechukwu's talent and potential, the owner promoted him to a kitchen assistant. Over time, Okechukwu continued to climb the ranks, his passion and dedication evident in every dish he crafted. He began to experiment with flavors and techniques, blending his cultural heritage with modern cuisine. His dishes became known for their unique and exquisite taste, drawing in more customers. Years passed, and Okechukwu's reputation as a talented chef grew. He eventually became the head chef of the restaurant, transforming it into one of the most celebrated dining establishments in the city. People traveled from far and wide to taste his creations, and his name became synonymous with culinary excellence. One evening, as Okechukwu oversaw his bustling kitchen, he received a visitor. It was his mother, Ada. She looked at him with pride and sadness in her eyes. "Your father is ill, Okechukwu," she said softly. "He regrets what he did and wishes to see you." Torn between the pain of his past and his duty as a son, Okechukwu decided to return to his village. He walked through the familiar streets, his heart heavy with emotion. When he entered his childhood home, he found her Nnaemeka lying weakly on a mat, his once formidable frame now frail. Nnaemeka looked up at his son, tears welling in his eyes. "Okechukwu, I was wrong," he whispered. "I see now that greatness comes in many forms. You have made me proud in a way I never imagined. Forgive an old man's pride and stubbornness." Okechukwu knelt beside his father, taking his hand. "I forgive you, father. I have always respected you and wanted to make you proud in my own way." Okechukwu then decided to bring Nnaemeka back to the city with him. He believed that better medical care would aid his father's recovery. With Ada's blessing, they made the journey back to the bustling city where Okechukwu had built his new life. Once in the city, Okechukwu ensured his father received the best medical attention available. Nnaemeka, though initially overwhelmed by the fast-paced environment, soon began to recover. Day by day, he grew stronger, bolstered by the love and care of his son. When Nnaemeka was well enough, Okechukwu decided to show him the restaurant where he had achieved so much success. As they walked through the doors, the staff greeted Okechukwu warmly, showing immense respect for their head chef. Nnaemeka watched in awe as his son commanded the kitchen, orchestrating a symphony of culinary activity with precision and grace. Okechukwu introduced his father to his colleagues and the restaurant owner, all of whom spoke highly of his talent and leadership. Nnaemeka, seeing the admiration and respect his son had earned, felt a surge of pride and emotion. He realized that Okechukwu had not only found his own path, but had excelled in a way that brought honor to their family name. That evening, Okechukwu prepared a special meal for his father, blending traditional dishes from their village with his own innovative twists. As Nnaemeka tasted the food, tears welled up in his eyes. He was overwhelmed by the flavors and the realization of how much his son had achieved. After the meal, Nnaemeka stood in the center of the restaurant, addressing the staff and patrons. "I came here a broken man, having disowned my son for choosing a different path," he began, his voice trembling with emotion. "But today, I see that true greatness comes not from following in another's footsteps, but from forging one's own path. My son, Okechukwu, has taught me this invaluable lesson." The restaurant erupted in applause, and Nnaemeka turned to his son, embracing him tightly. "I am proud of you, Okechukwu. You have surpassed my wildest dreams. Forgive an old man for his blindness." Okechukwu held his father close, tears streaming down his face. "I forgive you, father. Your support means everything to me." When Nnaemeka returned to Umuofia, he brought with him a newfound wisdom. He gathered the villagers and shared his story, speaking of the importance of allowing children to pursue their own passions and dreams. He urged parents to support their children in finding their unique strengths, rather than imposing their own aspirations upon them. "Sometimes," Nnaemeka said to the gathered villagers, "our children are not born to follow in our footsteps, but to create their own, and when they do, they can achieve greatness we never imagined." His words resonated deeply within the community. Over time, the village began to change. Parents encouraged their children to explore their talents and interests, fostering an environment where individuality was celebrated.